everyone, it's Gina from orchidandopal.com. Today I'm back with another finished jewelry update for this month. This is where I share some of the pieces that I've actually completed from, in many cases, bead box items. I know you see a lot of unboxings here, but I also like to make sure to come back to share with you some of the things that I've made, hopefully to inspire you or help to spark an idea in you to get out your beads and have a little fun creating. If you're new here, I want to give you a very warm welcome, especially. I'm so glad you found my channel and hope that you'll subscribe. I also have a very large playlist of these finished jewelry updates going back to the beginning of Orchid and Opal. And as most of you know who have been around a little while, this is where I also explain a little bit more about each of these pieces, the process, maybe my thought process, or more about the materials and how I was inspired. And I try to incorporate a mix of stringing techniques and bead weaving. So I think we're going to start out mostly with the stringing. I did create some pieces from the latest bargain bead box. So I'll show you those first, and then we'll check out some bead weaving projects, some of which already have tutorials, and then one that'll be coming up next week. So to get started, you've been looking at this necklace that has been put together using the beaded beads that I shared in this past weekend's tutorial. So if you'd like to figure out how those were made, definitely check out that video. It is the spiral beaded bead using 11/0 size seed beads. And not only did I make those beaded beads using a 12mm round as the base or the form that is underneath them, but I also found these metallic bead frame components that were in my stash, and I can't for the life of me remember where they came from. It might have been Beads of the Month Club in one of their monthly findings companion packs, but I didn't have this bag labeled, unfortunately. However, they just so happen to be perfect, I think, for these beaded beads. One of those things that just happen to work out. Sometimes you find just the right thing by pulling out items from your bead stash. And I know I've had these for a while and had no intention of using them anytime soon, but they were just sitting there waiting for this perfect moment, I feel like. So I was able to pop those beads right into the frames and also added some wire through the frame and the bead, created loops on either side, and that's how I was able to connect those two segments of chain, which happen to come in the bargain bead box, as well as the swirly spacer beads that you see right here and the other connector components. And I just kind of used some of those items interchangeably to break up the sections with the beaded beads. And this necklace is on the longer side. It hangs down pretty low, but I love the way it looks when I tried it on. I also added an extra segment of chain right here just to add something a little bit more interesting to pull together the bottom of the piece. And then I used this hook clasp that came in a Beads of the Month Club Findings companion pack. I just love that. I think it's got a great quality look and feel to it. And the dark color goes really well with these gunmetal findings that we had to work with this month. Next, from the contents of the bargain bead box, I have a necklace and earrings set that I created using that slab Halite stone pendant that was sort of organically shaped and had that big hole right at the top area. I incorporated one of the larger metallic chandelier components also to create somewhat of a bail and wire wrap that to the back of the pendant. And fortunately, I do have the footage filmed. I have a tutorial that will be coming soon to show you exactly how I was able to put that together if you're curious. Here is a closer look at the front of the pendant. You can see that I also incorporated some of the connectors, not only in the chain of the necklace, but also one right on top of the slab pendant. And I have a tiny little charm that's hanging down to finish that off. I wire wrap these together using some aluminum wire from BB Craft. So it's a little softer and more pliable than copper wire that I usually will work with. But I just happen to like the contrast of that lighter matte colored silver with the darker gunmetal tone. And it's very sturdy and came together really nicely, I think, and gave me an area to attach the rest of the beadwork on the necklace chain. Here are two simple earrings that I created to go along with the necklace using the connectors as well as more of the Halite stone beads, some of the ball head pins that they included, and those black beads are onyx from my stash. So I pulled those in to bring in a little bit more black to tie in with the Halite and the gunmetal, and also use the bead caps that came in the subscription box. Those earring findings were something I had from Eureka Crystal Beads. They are tiara cast and have that darker gunmetal look to them that matches some of our findings. And here's the overall look of the entire necklace. You can see that I just used a wire wrapped link technique going all the way around and used both of the types of Halite beads that they sent us this month and broke those up a little bit with some of the onyx stones and some more connectors, and also brought in some of those black and white 3x2mm rondelles, which I added into some of those links. At the end, I just used a lobster clasp and added another segment of chain as an extender and incorporated one of the swirly metallic spacer beads back there that I had left from my other project as an embellishment. Up next, I have a long necklace where I used the key finding that they sent and the loops from the toggle clasps as well. I also used some of the crystal beads, the rondelles in both sizes that they included, and the ball head pins, and wire wrapped a cluster of those around the top of the key and around the area where they're connected at the base. And there's a little peek at what the back looks like, and they kind of move around a little bit. And there's the entire look at the necklace with the addition of the 8mm green lime jasper beads that have the slight faceting. And I also brought in the rondelle beads in both of those different sizes that we received. The smaller ones in the white and then that brighter green. Brought those up through the necklace and used some of the gunmetal colored spacer beads that they also provided us, as well as a lot more of the chain. As you can see, I also used one of those faceted pear crystals at the bottom of the extender chain as an embellishment. And there you can see the two loops from the toggle clasps that they sent us that I turned into connectors instead of using them for a clasp, which match the one that I used down there at the pendant and bring that all together. Next is a bead weaving project that I had put together. I was inspired by the contents of the recent Beading School Academy subscription, which was full of lots of silvers and blues and came with all the beads that you see and the crystal in the pendant necklace below on the right. And that's a design that you may have already seen. I shared it in yesterday's video and also in a tutorial. So if you'd like to make one of those, I do have the full tutorial where you can see how I put that together. Both the pendant and some very simple beaded beads that I created with the bugles to complete the necklace and also bring in some more of the bugles that I used in the frame of the crystal pendant. But on the left is the other colorway that I actually just finished this morning. I was putting that one together. I had finished the pendant but hadn't created the chain yet, so I worked on the final beaded beads in that really citrusy, vibrant lime green color, and then strung that all together just like I did and showed you in the tutorial from last week. And if you're newer to bead weaving and maybe you don't want to delve into making the actual pendant itself, the little beaded beads are very simple. If you want to try to make some of those and just use those as a smaller practice project, and you can use them in all sorts of different ways, not just the way that I put them together here. But I had a sweet viewer leave a comment recently, and she said that she wasn't quite ready to attempt the pendant. She's newer to bead weaving, and she thought she'd try those beaded beads by themselves, and I thought that was a really great idea. All the other beads in the new colorway that's on display can be found at Beading School. And I just shared a couple of brand new bead bundles in yesterday's video. They are doing some collections of the 12mm Miyuki twists and also the bicones in all sorts of different colors. So I ended up using some of those from Beading School, as well as some other items that they carry to show you how this necklace would look done in a different color scheme. Up next, I have 4 pairs of Crystal Cove earrings that came from a recent tutorial this month, and I hadn't shared in last month's update. And the first pair that I created are the ones on the left with the turquoise and gold color combination. And everything there came from the Eureka Crystal Beads collection that Stephanie from Bronze Pony helped put together called Seaside Dreams. So that inspired me to create the Crystal Cove earrings, and then I rummaged through my stash and found some other trillion stones and put these other color combinations together. So if you're looking for a project for a 12mm size trillion cut crystal, I now have a tutorial incorporating them. And these also use some Delica beads, 11 and 15 seed beads, and some of the triangles, which could also be substituted with some other larger beads like 2mm or larger seed beads. And then I just used a couple of sparkly bicones in the earring findings themselves to add that extra level of detail up there at the top. Up next are the terrarium earrings, and these match the terrarium pendant that I shared last year in a tutorial. These use everything that can be found in the Orchid Oasis collection at Eureka Crystal Beads. And I've been asked several times by some lovely viewers to create some earrings to go along with that pendant. The pendant uses the larger 13 by 18mm octagonal crystal, but that collection also came with two of the smaller coordinating crystals in the pink opal that are in the 10 by 14mm size. So the idea was that you could make a necklace and earring combination that would go together. And these use the Super Duo beads, some fire polish, some of the 2x8mm Miyuki drop beads, Ado Toho demi rounds, and that was just one color combination. And then looking through my stash, again, pulling out some more 10 by 14mm crystals and also seeing what items I had that Eureka Crystal Beads also carries or things that are very similar. I pulled together 4 other colorways of these earrings to give you some additional examples of how this design looks in different color schemes, because I always find it interesting how color can really change the look of something overall. So be sure to check out that tutorial if you haven't already and you'd like to make some of the terrarium earrings. And if you haven't checked out the pendant, you can make a similar coordinating necklace to go along with them. And then last but not least, I have a brand new design that I've shared a couple times in other projects. And finally, I have the tutorial coming out next week, is a design using the dagger beads. These are the single hole daggers as well as Rizzo beads, 8/0 and 11/0 seed beads to create these blossom-like pendants. Once again, I have these in all different colors, just pulling things that I have in my stash that I could put together in different ways to show you examples of these done in all sorts of different colors. I'll show you a close-up look at each of these so you can see what they look like. And here's a look at the center. So it has an open center. It's one of those designs where it doesn't incorporate a crystal. Now you certainly could, but I purposely kept that open on this design just to do something different. And you can see the Rizzo beads that add a lot of fluffy layers to the center of these floral beaded components. A simple bail there that you can see connected at the back, and just added some chain to make that into a necklace. And those dagger beads are really interesting. A lot of these daggers happen to come from the various Beads of the Month clubs that I've received. And this one has the rye etching pattern over the vibrant yellow in the background. And I know the Rizzo beads probably came from Beads of the Month also. These have a base of like a white opal and then a metallic on one side of the bead. It adds a lot of extra dimension and sparkle to that one. Next up is this one. It's one of my favorites actually that came out of this. It's done in a lot of neutrals, but there's something really elegant about it, especially with those dagger beads. They've got that additional element of metallic shine that is applied lightly over the surface. The Rizzo beads are a combination of a white and a deeper caramel color. And then I had some of these taupe color-lined seed beads in my stash that I used, along with some Ado that have a Picasso finish, and somehow it just all really came together and I like the way that looks overall. Here's another one of my favorites. This has the dragonfly wing etching, I think it's called, over top of a bronze metallic base, and the etching also has some of that turquoise color that I brought in, along with some teal seed beads, some turquoise 8/0 seed beads with an AB finish that brings out a little bit of a rainbow effect and picks up some of the AB coating that you see on the smaller Rizzos. that are a base of a dark topaz, it looks like. Here is the cobalt blue one. This does have a little bit of additional coating on the dagger beads. It's just a lot more subtle. And I am probably going to put this on a rose gold chain to match the rose gold or copper colored beads that are in the center of this one, but that'll do for now. Those Rizzo beads are a transparent deep cobalt blue, and they've got the California gold, which is kind of a coppery gold, applied to half the bead. And then I used some rose gold size 8/0 seed beads and some deep blue metallic 11/0s. Here's the red variety, and these use some transparent deep cyan red dagger beads with the red Rizzos that have the Picasso stone lake finish, which make those look really interesting in the center, I think, along with some gold 11/0 seed beads and some lined topaz 8/0s. And here is the last one. This is a pink variety. They have the light pink transparent petals with the AB stripes giving us the iridescence. And then the chalk white lila luster pink Rizzo beads with some 11/0s in silver and some frosty light pink 8/0 seed beads. So be on the lookout for that tutorial coming next week. I'm not sure what I'll be naming these yet, so we'll just have to wait and see. And that wraps it up for another finished jewelry update. Thank you all so much for joining me and helping to keep me inspired. I love coming back to share finished pieces with you and hope it inspires you to dig out some of the beads and things from your stash and have fun coming up with your own creations. I hope you'll stay tuned for a lot more to come, especially new tutorials and future unboxings and more. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Definitely give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. I always love to hear from you. And feel free to share the video with your other beading friends. I'll see you again next time. And in the meantime, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.